connected.
We run around like crazy people all week. We run from place to place. We've done our errands. We've done our shopping. We've taken care of family and friends. And now we sit for a little bit. We welcome Shabbat, first of all, with lighting of the candles. And as I said, we light candles. Why? To separate between Kadosh and the rest of the week, between the holiness of Shabbat and the commonality of the week. So we don't have candlesticks here, but we do have our lights, and we bless the lights. We say Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav Etzivanu V'Hadlik Ner Shel Shabbat. Amen. When I was a kid growing up, and I watched my mom do that, blessed memory, I always thought that word b'mitzvotav was the coolest word in the world. To the ears of a Canoga Park little boy, those were somehow magical. We welcome Shabbat with singing. So the first song I like to do is how good it is that we're all together. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. We sing that special welcome to the Shabbat angels, the Shabbat bride. On page 13, we have the Shalom Aleichem. We welcome in the special angels we get every Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hamalei, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. For my Hebrew students out there, what does Seichem v'Shalom mean? Okay. Robert? Tom? Okay, we'll get there. Neil, what's Seichem v'Shalom? Don't even, you know what, they're, no, don't go with them. Seichem v'Shalom literally means go in peace. But what really struck me, how we learn Hebrew in America and how it's spoken in Israel are two vastly different things. And when I was a volunteer in the Army there back in the 80s, there was a big, big billboard as you left the base, and it said, Seichem v'Shalom. And I said, you mean like what we sing, from Shalom Aleichem every Friday night? One of the guys in my unit looks at me and he says, no, it means drive carefully. Drive carefully. Drive safely. I'm like, okay, very good. How do we know at home it's Shabbat? Brenda, when you were growing up, what would have been the indicator that this was Friday afternoon and not Thursday afternoon? Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Welcome back. Which neighborhood was that? Which neighborhood was that? Which neighborhood? Okay, okay. I also have a vivid memory of being in Reseda, California, and watching the butcher taking the bird over the flame and burning off the fin feathers. Because the alternative was to pull them out one by one. So you burn them off is much more effective. So I get that. I get that. Very good. Very good. Okay. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Tom? So it's interesting, and mine was closer to Brenda's. I didn't grow up in a classical. Well, actually, Neil, I left you off. How would you know it's Friday afternoon and not Thursday? You didn't have dinner after you came home? Wow, wow, wow. Okay. So we'll come back to that in just a second. I grew up very similar to Brendan in this regard, though it was in Canoga Park, California, so not a classical Jewish neighborhood by any means. You know it was Friday afternoon because of the way the house was set up. That the rest of the week, sometimes you don't pay for play. Sometimes, back in those days, the TV dinner was considered a big treat, to an 8-year-old boy. This was a treat. But on Friday, the meal was elevated. My mom, not a great cook. Great mom, yes. Great cook, no. But she thought the height of, was it height cuisine? How do you pronounce that? Thank you. Cuisine. Take a veal chop and pour a cap full of Manischewitz' finest over the top of it for flavor. I'm not convinced that did anything, but that was her shtick. And it was things like that let us know that this was Friday afternoon, not Thursday afternoon. That you're elevating the day. You're making the day different from every other day. If you've heard me say this before, you're going to hear me say it over and over and over again. The whole trick to Shabbat is elevating it, raising it in holiness, and not making it look like every other day of the week. That's the whole trick. We asked the question a couple of times. You forgot to buy wine for Kiddush. You go in the refrigerator, you've got ice water, lemonade, and vodka. What do? Okay, option A, mix it all together, just cover all the bases, okay? That sounds like a really horrific cocktail, I gotta tell you, Brenda, okay? You do not get bartender duties. And we decided the solution was go with the vodka because it's the most different, the most special, that you wouldn't necessarily be doing a shot of vodka every evening. Not necessarily. But you do something to make the day special. Just as we have this imagery of the Shabbat as a bride, right? Hey, what we say to the bride, V'tabazot at mekudeshet li. We say at a wedding ceremony, with this ring, you are mekudeshet. You are sanctified to me. What does sanctified mean? Sanctified. What is it? Blessed? No. Sanctified means separated. That you are separate from every other woman in the planet to me. That every other, who remembers Fiddler on the Roof? And do you love me? Do I love him? Okay. Classic question, okay? So my wife, who mercifully is not watching this evening, so I can have this discussion, can periodically will say, why do you love me? And you say, oh, well, you're pretty. Okay, how many pretty girls are there in the world? And the answer is there's a whole lot. Okay, so that can't be it because you're smart. There's a lot of smart girls in the world. Okay, you cook well. Lots of people cook well. You're a good. This is true, but that special ingredient that constitutes love, I don't have. And again, I don't know how to quantify that. It's a certain bit of magic that when that connection is there, and that chibur, that connection is there, you feel it, but I can't quantify it. Same thing with Shabbat, that you're elevating the day to make it special and unique and separate from every other. And that becomes the whole thing with preparing for Shabbat. When we get together for Shabbat, we have Shabbat to me is more of a home holiday than a religious holiday. Neil made the point, I grew up in that household where dinner before you went to services, but I also know a lot of families who would come home from services and have dinner. Shabbat services, how long should they last? Neil, in the Orthodox world, how long does Shabbat last? Why? See, I hear that, but I have to say this: the Shabbat liturgy is not long, even if you're in the Orthodox world. It's the idea always was that you would go to services and then go home to relax and enjoy that meal. Who's ever done Shabbat with Chabad? If you've never done that, it's an experience worth having. But it still comes down to they'll have dinner after services. Dinner goes on for hours. The fellowship goes on for hours. It's eating, it's learning, it's singing, and to me that becomes the core of the experience. Other thoughts on that before I move us forward a little bit? There is. It's interesting. Let's talk about food just for a moment. Well, actually, we're Jewish. We like to talk about food. We talked about this before, and it's worth remembering. Yeah, for that Shabbat meal, that Friday night meal, should be the nicest meal you have of the week. It should be the elevated meal. So challah is special because you make it richer. You add eggs to it, you add raisins to it. You can add spices to it. There's all kinds of things you can do with challah to make that challah the best bread of the week. Okay. The chicken soup that people have referenced is a big deal because you're killing a chicken, you're making soup and a meal out of it. You know what? You don't have that every night because having chicken, not every family could do that. So it's a big deal. I know in my house we like dessert. Okay, so for us it's almost never chicken. We typically have fish because then you can have a melchic dessert. And melchic desserts are always better than carb desserts. Give me that full fat dessert. The idea being is that your Shabbat meal should be the challenge, though, is what are your Shabbat foods? Gefilte fish and cholent. We've talked about this. Gefilte fish is basically you take that whole fish up and you grind it up, add some flour and mush it together. You're not throwing anything away because food is precious. What is cholent? Or if you're Sephardic, for Joel, we'll say this, what is HaYam, which is the Sephardic equivalent of cholent. What is cholent? Okay, lots of beans. You put tomato in it? Oh, potato, much better. Okay. You basically So cholent is taking all the food you have in the refrigerator or in the cabinet, and you're throwing it into a big slisel? No, sisal. A big pot. You add some water, maybe some onion, some oil, some carrots, some potatoes, whatever you have. In my perfect world, you have to throw in some kishka also, which also is bad for you. Oh. Oh. a hole in your education. We'll come back to that. I understand. You put it into water, you put it on heat, you let it cook overnight. It reduces, the water reduces overnight and makes all the flavors more concentrated. It's called reduction for the cooks at home. And it makes its deliciousness. But again, it's the food of poverty. Because you're taking everything, you can't throw anything, you don't have food to waste. So you're taking everything and making a meal out of it. It's the food of poverty. But it's a beloved food. But all these things are part of the Shabbat experience to make it different from every other day of the week. Very important. I want to jump us ahead. Besides me, is anybody saying Kaddish tonight? All right. We have two people on, Neil? Okay, we can get this to work. No. We'll get this to work. Join me on page 30. We'll do the Shema together. When we don't have, in an ideal world, you say Shema with a minion. If you don't have a minion, you add 3 words. Okay, what are the 3 words? Page 30. Page 30. Let's see what you got. I should. Let's see what you got. Perfect. That's where I'm at. Yeah, but also 30 is 30. So El Melech Naaman is a faithful king. Neil, do you know this one? What's the El Melech El Melech Naaman is an acronym. You know what the acronym is? I'm going to tell you, and you're going to go, no. Aleph Mem Nun. Amen. This is where the word. This is where it is. This is where the word amen comes from. You're acknowledging 2 things: one, that God is a faithful king, and amen in both in Hebrew and in the English vernacular has become the expression of I agree. So when somebody says say amen, you're agreeing with what was said before. So we'll do it first together in the Hebrew. We'll all say together El Melech Naaman, and then we'll recite together by covering our eyes. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol levavcha v'kol nafshecha v'kol meodecha v'hayu ha'barim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha HaYam levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shidecha b'beitecha udlektecha v'derech ushakbecha kumecha ushartam liot ayadecha ayulatotafot beinenecha uktavtam almizo beitecha uvisharecha. Phil, you want to read the English for us? You shall love.
You shall love God with all your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day, you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children, and recite them at home and away, night and day. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your home and on your gates.
Amen. I want to do a little teaching on a holiday not a holiday, an observance coming up next week. Okay? Next week, of course, is the holiday of Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av. And on the 9th day of Av, it is an observance of unmitigated disaster. Okay? And it hits me, the Jewish people, we are a strange collection of people. What people observes disasters in their history? I'll give you an example. Here in the United States, we observe the 4th of July. How come? Good. It wasn't a trick question. Okay, good. The fourth Thursday in November is Thanksgiving. And what happens on Thanksgiving? You know, Neil, you're right. We absolutely eat, and it's a blessing that we have plenty to eat. These are definitely first world problems, but we're grateful. We show gratitude. Okay, like I said, we'll come back to that. What else do we celebrate in America? Oh, I'm going to talk about that. Christmas should be a religious holiday, and I hope that those who observe the holiday observe it within their faith. New Year's Eve, okay, a very secular day, but we tend to observe that also. Also true. We observe Labor Day and Memorial. Well, okay. So Memorial is a little closer. Do we observe June 25th? I'm sorry? Right. And actually, I feel like this is Jeopardy, but I'll make it a little bit easier. I'll give you what is June 25th and 26th, 1876, in the great state of Montana. Very, very famous events in American history happened there. Okay. Custer's Last Stand. Okay. Do we observe that? Why? It's a disaster. We don't observe disasters. We don't celebrate disasters. But and we don't celebrate Tisha B'Av, but we observe it. Hey, we don't observe Custer's Day. Interestingly enough, an unmitigated disaster in American history we don't observe. We don't observe it as anything special. It's fascinating in that regard. But Judaism remembers disasters. Going into the Tisha B'Av, we had the 17th of Tammuz, the day we remember that the Babylonians first breached the walls of Jerusalem. And then the destruction of the first temple on the 9th of Av by the Babylonians in 586 BCE. And then in 70 AD, the Romans destroyed the temple on the same day. Okay? We remember that. Interestingly enough. Why? Why remember disaster? The Jews are expelled from Spain and Portugal on Tisha B'Av. I think that's interesting. You know, there's that age-old theory of, you know, those who don't study history are condemned to repeat it. I kind of get that. Doesn't always work, but I kind of get where they're going with that. Also, I kind of get that. I think it's interesting in our modern times, Tisha B'Av was always about a national day of mourning, that Jews the world over would have a day of mourning. I'm going to tell the story tonight. I'm going to tell it again on Tuesday night when we have services for Tisha B'Av. It's 1797, and Napoleon is walking the streets of Paris with his staff. He's going by the great synagogue of Paris on Tisha B'Av, and he hears the crying inside. The people are mourning. And he says to his staff, "What are they crying about? Don't they know that I've emancipated them, that the Jews are free, they're full citizens of France?" He says to one of his aides, "Go in there and find out what's going on." Aide comes back a few minutes later. He says, "They're mourning the destruction of the temple." And looks at his aide. He says, "Make sure you got that correct, because the temple was destroyed 2,000 years ago." Aide goes back in, comes out a few minutes later. "Yeah, they're mourning the destruction of the temple." And Napoleon, again, this is a legend, but he thinks about it for a second. He says, "You know, any people who still mourn after 2,000 years surely will be redeemed." And I think that's kind of, for me, the takeaway of Tisha B'Av, is we remember with the thought being redeemed. We'll talk more about that on Tuesday night. Wednesday night. Wednesday night. That's right. That's right. So Wednesday evening, we'll get us live on live. We'll be live streaming on Wednesday night. Brenda, we're going to do announcements on Zoom. Live streaming on Zoom. Exactly. So we're going to do announcements now. So if you want to give Jerry a heads up, we have a little bit of material to go. We're going to do announcements. We're going to do Mourner's Kaddish. And then oh, you know, I know what I wanted to say. How long are services? When I lived in Israel, we did Orthodox services, half an hour. I would be at the Kotel. I would be at the Western Wall. Half an hour. We do. I think okay, that's interesting. One of the things I really believe in is schlepping out a service is not a good thing. That like the liturgy for a Friday night service is not lengthy. Rosh Hashanah, Erev Rosh Hashanah, it's not a lengthy service. There's not a lot of material. So when people will tell me about how they remember being at services for 2 and 3 hours, I'm going like, how? How did they do that?
Before I can remember going to an Orthodox, and they're waiting to see the 3 stars in the sky before they finish the service, and they keep davening and davening and davening.
I have bad news. Oh,
What?
we do the same thing. So, since Phil brought it up, I'll share it. The Judaism is about legality and about time. So when does a day start and when does a day end? And you can see the 3 stars in the sky. That's the end of that day. It closes that day. So my wife will tell you that on Saturday night I will go out in front and go and try to count 3 stars. Okay. Okay, so then the question becomes, what happens if there's no stars or there's clouds? Then you go about the clock. Okay, additional answer to that is 45 minutes after sundown, after astronomical sundown. Anybody who is an astrologist struggling to attend sundown is or almanac on the internet. We go by that. Let's say 45 minutes after that. But we do on Friday on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Light and I are doing the same thing. We're figuring out. We know that sundown is going to be at 7:05. We can't finish up at 6:55. So we do it. That is a little bit of slipping out on the bottom paper. My friends, no service is ever complete without announcements. So again, welcome to our services. Join us here tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock right here. We'll be live and live streaming. I'll say it right now. It's a special Shabbat honoring your friend and mine, Alma Baranke's 100th Baruch Hashem birthday. We're celebrating that tomorrow. I've seen the cake being made. It's in progress. I did quality control the icing. It's going to be good. So join us tomorrow, 10 o'clock right here. Wednesday evening, Erev B'Av services, 7 p.m. on Zoom. That's B'Av, 7 p.m. on Zoom. Musar classes with Fran, 7 p.m. Thursday, July 30th. This upcoming Sunday, the 19th, it's 2 days from now, 11 a.m. on Zoom. Join us for our annual congregational meeting. I know that the links went out earlier today. If you didn't get one, email Brenda first thing in the morning on Sunday so she can get it out to you. We've had in the Migdal Or, the apples and honey application. If you want to, in fact, not if you want to, I invite you to please take part in the mitzvah of giving something sweet to family and friends for Rosh Hashanah. Again, the form is on the website via the Migdal Or. And there's some here on the table also if you would like one. We always have the gift cards fundraiser available. Visit it via the website. If you have any questions, contact Brenda directly. Birthdays. On the 20th, we're Judy Margoles, Alma on the 27th, Lynn Freeman on the 29th, and Joanne Glick on the 30th. Again, some special dates to remember. Tomorrow morning, special service in Kiddush celebrating Alma's 100th birthday, Kinahora, Mazal Tov, Mazal Tov. On the 19th, our annual congregation meeting, 11 a.m. on Zoom. If you did not get the link, email Brenda first thing Sunday morning to get it from her. Erev Shabbat service, 7 p.m. on Zoom on Wednesday the 22nd. Sunday, August the 9th, installation of Rabbi Ron Goldberg right here at noon. We recall the following yard sites this week. Jerome Charles Catan, brother of Phil. Okay. Rabbi Morris Rubenstein, husband of Miriam Rubenstein. David Perlmutter, father of Buddy Perlmutter. Leon Levman, brother-in-law of Lois Levman. Amy Pandel Rust, cousin of Maura Resnick. May the memories be for a blessing. All those. To get us to a minyan today, what my tradition is I count everybody here, I count everybody online, and if in a case like this, I will count a Torah scroll to get us to 10 people. So all those who are in mourning, all those observing Yortzeit, and in fact, I'm going to include myself, my mother, Lorna Goldberg of blessed memory, is this week also. Kaddish is on page 52. Yit Gadal, Yit Gadash, Shemei Rabbah, Yomah, Dirach, Yerutei, Yamlech, Malchutei, Bakayekon, Yomekon, Ukai, the whole Date Israel, Bagalav, Bisman, Kari, Bimru, Yehe, Shmei, Rabbah, Mevorach, Ulam, Umei, Omaya, Yit Barak, Ishtabach, Yipar, Bitoman, Say, Yitzadar, it's a lev, it's a law. Shmei de Kudisha, Rechu. Ela, Nimpol, Birkata, Vishirata, Tushbakata, Venechamata, Damiran Bioma. Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya, Bekaim Alenu, Velkol Yisrael, Vimru. Osei Shalom Birama, Uyase Shalom, Alenu, Velkol Yisrael. Amen. We end with two things this evening. First of all, Zikronam Livracham, may their memories be for a blessing. First of all, a prayer for peace. Osei Shalom Biramav, Uyase Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'Kol Yoshvei Tedel V'Imru. May peace be in the high places, make peace for us, for all Israel, and for all mankind. And for everybody who came tonight, a blessing. You deserve a special blessing. Yevarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, Salchem Shalom. May God guard and protect you. May He turn His face to you. May He be gracious to you. And most importantly, send us all the blessings of peace. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We'll see you right here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And enjoy us for an